Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Stephen D. Kelley. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. This is Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com, the one and only Mr. Kitten. Don't forget Mr. Kitten. Where is he? I don't see him. Anyway. All right. Happy Thursday. It is June 22nd. It's now 6 p.m. How about that? I'm actually on time. 2023. What's interesting about the tonight? I don't really have a title for you yet. I'm sure I'll come up with something here before too long as I get inspired. But my plan originally is to... Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Stephen D. Kelley. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. This is Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com, the one and only Mr. Kitten. Don't forget Mr. Kitten. Where is he? I don't see him. Anyway. All right. Happy Thursday. It is June 22nd. It's now 6 p.m. How about that? I'm actually on time. 2023. What's interesting about the tonight? I don't really have a title for you yet. I'm sure I'll come up with something here before too long as I get inspired. But my plan originally is to talk about some current events, some geopolitical stuff, because there's some things going on in the world, not so much the world. I mean, obviously, I'll talk a little briefly about Russia and Ukraine and that stuff and the other countries involved, but some significant things happened with the United States foreign policy in the Biden administration. We need to talk about that. And I also do need to follow up on the last show and the little fire that got started. I need to address that first. That's kind of important. It hasn't gone away, and I certainly haven't forgotten it. But what I want to convey, first of all, is that if you know me, well, you'll know that that's not completely out of character for me to chastise in such a way. But at the same time, I got to turn that off. I take great pride in trying to maintain a certain level of calm, because it's just like the Buddhists believe. They say that that which makes you calm is good, because that's how we develop our chi, and that's how we can have the quiet that we need to hear the messages and the answers for the questions that we have, and that sort of thing. How do you have to have calm, and if you're going to have any kind of communication with source and be able to utilize those gifts that we like to talk about so much. So when something causes that, a disruption in that, changes the energy dramatically, like this revelation of this Lewis guy and his fraudulent truth tour featuring Carrie Cassidy. You know, it's well, let's just say I don't regret this at all, because if anything, the message stays the same, and I think a lot of you are getting it very clearly, and that is that polite doesn't work anymore. This is not about being nice. This is not about being civilized. These rules that apply to society that dictate how we act should not have anything to do with the way we respond to our children being raped and eaten. Any normal parent should be passionately ready to kill someone who is guilty of such a thing. So we've reached a time in our society where enough of us have become awake to the reality that we're trying to push so hard with this message, the Occupy the Getty message. And I think that I'd like to take some credit for basically showing you guys that there's no room for lack of passion, and there's no room for being polite. There's no room for civil discourse. There's no room for wasting time on extraneous, self-serving activity like selling crap, promoting BS politicians, or this sort of thing, which is what seems to be such a big part of the so-called truth industry nowadays. Anyway, as humans, we should be very pro-human, and we should be very anti anything that is anti-human. And this activity is extremely anti-human, and it's being done by none other than the very people that pretend to lead us or make up the rules-based society. They wrote the book of what the rules are and are not. And one of the rules they made was that we shall be polite, we shall not say fuck in public. So, people, the very enemy that's eating your children is the very same enemy that put that muzzle on you and told you what is polite and what is reasonable human activity when you encounter something unpleasant. So this should be obvious now. And even the people of the truth movement, I mean, my observations, I'm just going to give you my observations. And of course, most of what I observe is quite filtered because, of course, I am not on social media like everybody else, and I don't visit these channels, and I don't watch these videos, and I certainly haven't wasted the time, or shall I say, spent the time watching or following up on any of the rebuttals or activities that have taken place since this event featuring myself, Lewis, and Kerry Cassidy. Now, I've heard stories. I've had plenty of emails, messages from people reporting and telling me about what's transpired. But one of the most telling things of all is the silence, the sound of the crickets coming from that camp, Lewis's truther community. Now, of course, there have been a few people. I understand that this Rob Mercury guy has come out with a new video talking shit about me and still not mentioning. I'm told it has my photo in there, but it doesn't have my name still or some crap like this, some stupid thing. The bottom line is these people don't know what to do. They can't defend themselves because you can't defend this coddling of the pedophiles like what's going on here and the continuous grifting, snake oil con activities that are seemingly inseparable from the whole Trump community. I mean, I'm coming to the realization that these grifters, these so-called truthers, they think that the GOP, the conservative part of this country, is nothing more than a bunch of old people that are too stupid to know better when it comes to buying health products, Bitcoin, or whatever crap it is that comes from these grifters. Investment strategies, eyebrow plucking, I don't know, whatever it is that they sell. Bottom line, though, that has nothing to do with the truth. It has nothing to do with saving children. It certainly has nothing to do with our movement. And I'll tell you, it's like I told Rob Roy, the guy that makes a lot of our memes. I said, truth is our temple. Okay, he made the meme. He showed Jesus getting righteously angry, making a whip, and chasing the moneylenders out of the temple. And a lot of people have made that comparison because, yes, obviously, we want to be above all that. We want to remain calm, and etc. But when we're faced with this kind of blatant evil in the wrong place in our house, we're not going to be nice. We're not going to be polite. We're going to kick their ass, and we're going to drive them out. So truth is our temple, and we're not going to tolerate any bullshit con men selling shit under the guise of truth. And I think there's plenty of you out there that have been watching these bullshit truth channels for so long. I've been hearing them try to sell their crap, selling fear, talking about white hats, you name it, aliens, who knows what. But you're over it. We're all over it. What they're not saying is they're not saying Occupy the Getty. They're not saying my name. They're not saying any way, in any shape or form, how we end this mission. The main thing they're doing is they're fighting with me. It's the last thing they should be doing right now. So times have changed. The shot has gone across the bow. You all saw it. The reverberations are still going out there. It hasn't stopped. The fire's been lit. You've all found your balls, and you all know that there's no place in this business for this polite bullshit. And those guys that are selling you crap, they cannot respond in kind. They cannot call me out. They cannot say the things that I say because you cannot sell crap when you're being mean. You can't be a bully because people will be taken aback and they won't give you money. And for them, the money is the only thing that matters. So that's why they can't challenge me, and that's why it's so quiet right now, because they don't know what to do. They're waiting for somebody to find their balls, to come forward, to find some dirt, to somehow prove me wrong. And we all know that's not going to happen. We all know what happens to people that mess with me. And I'm thinking that's part of the problem there, too, is because none of them have any balls, none of them want to mess with me, and I don't blame them. Because they're comic book heroes, the ones that are supposed to have balls, they know what happens when they mess with me. And some of them, those of them that have lost those balls. So that's really what it's about right now. Anyway, we found our balls. We're going to use them. We're not afraid to. And I think that we've put everybody on notice, and things are going to change. And it can't happen soon enough. I hope you're all inspired, you ladies too. I know you are. And this is what we're supposed to be doing. Come on, you're supposed to be defending our children. You're not supposed to be being polite about this shit. Stop living in fear. All right, let's go into some geopolitics. Now, of course, we know that this stuff is all connected. And of course, we know that the enemy, the real enemy, the one that runs the Biden administration and others, they're in panic mode. For one thing, not just because of Occupy the Getty, but also because of Project Ukraine, which is failing miserably. I won't go into too many details about that, but suffice it to say, though, the EU, NATO, the European Union, and the United States have pretty much shot their wad, or they're getting to the point of depletion. They've demilitarized, deindustrialized, and they've bet the entire hand. I mean, they bet everything they have on this one hand. They have no choice. They've got to win, and it's not going to happen. Now, the United States, or the West, the collective West, as they say, is all about projection and lies. That's all they do. That's all they can put out anymore. Projection and lies, projection and lies. It's like the shit they put out on TV, only people aren't sucking that stuff up anymore. They have alternatives. It's not working. Well, let's see what has happened recently. One of the biggest things that's happened recently is the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, that Hungarian Jewish guy, that Soros clone person, who is our Secretary of State. He is our, shall we say, our Hillary. At least under the Obama administration, it was Hillary. And actually, Blinken is who Hillary works for. Hillary does the foreign policy, and Obama does the domestic policy. Yeah, he's all the transgender stuff. But Hillary is the we hate Russia stuff. Now, Blinken went to China recently, and this is significant in many, many, many ways. First of all, he was actually able to meet with Xi Jinping for a total of, some say it was 25 minutes. He flew thousands and thousands of miles for a 25-minute meeting. He also met with someone else before that. But the point is that it's not like it used to be. Our Secretary of State does not just casually drop by China and pop in and visit as is convenient. In fact, they've been trying to set up a meeting with China. All of them have been, not just the United States, but the West in general, have been trying to have meetings, and they've all been fiascos of one kind or another. I mean, I talked about when Macron and von der Crazy woman went, von der Leyen went there. It was a fiasco, but Blinken and Biden, they hate Biden. China hates Biden, just passionately hates Biden. And Anthony Blinken, of course, they don't want to even talk to him. They don't talk to Milley. They don't talk to the military types. You know, Milley, of course, is our chief of defense or whatever the hell it is, Secretary of Defense. Well, anyway, they finally granted Blinken a meeting. All right, this was a big deal. After all this animosity and these huge, huge tensions that are spiking here between the United States and China over Taiwan, etc., they finally said, okay, Blinken, come on in and we'll talk to you for 30 minutes. So he went in there, tail between his legs, and he gave them bullshit about one China, and we're following the rules as far as Taiwan is concerned, and we're not doing anything that's outside of what you said we could do, bullshit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And China said, you know what, you're so full of it. We're so tired of hearing this bullshit from you guys. You want everything one way. You want us to talk about Ukraine. You want us to talk about Russia. You want us to talk about all this crap, but you don't want to talk about this, and you don't want to talk about that. It's totally BS. And they basically told Blinken off. They gave him a dressing down, as they say. But he did get to talk to Xi Jinping, which was something because he allowed Xi Jinping to give him some crap, to bitch him out. Well, you know, that's what Blinken is for. Okay, and the Chinese are pissed, and they wanted to bitch out the United States, so they did it officially with Anthony Blinken in 30 minutes or so. Anyway, the point is that visit, even though China basically told Blinken he was an asshole and they hated Biden, at the same time, it was the biggest improvement in U.S.-China relations, which are at a peak low that have not been this low since Richard Nixon went back there in 1972, 74, whatever it was. Now, I just want to mention one thing before I go any further about Biden. I hope I don't get distracted, but where would the world be today if Nixon had never gone to China? Everyone says, oh, Nixon opened up the doors. He opened up the Great Wall, blah, 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 bullshit. As if that was such a great thing. First of all, let's all remember, Nixon was a criminal. He was a mafioso. He was connected to the Robert Vesco shenanigans that I try to educate you with. The same as Trump and Reagan and all these other Republicans, etc., are all connected to the mafia. The international mafia, not the little Italian mafia or this or that. This is CIA, NSA mafia, Intertel. That's what these people were. So here's the thing. So here you have China, this backwards, Marxist, stupid-ass country, a country that killed all the birds in the country to save the wheat and ended up losing all the wheat to the locust. You know, smooth move, X-Lax. Yeah, that's a great leap forward. Anyway, these same people were wallowing in it until Nixon comes along, straightens everything out. Next thing you know, trillions of dollars of American money are going into that country, turning it into an economic, industrial powerhouse. That's our industry over there, okay? That's our industry that shut down and went to China because of all those cheap labor. That's American greed. That was only American greed. You motherfuckers want cheap Chinese goods? This is what you got. This is what you got. You got trillions of dollars in investment. Now, it's not completely bleak because, first of all, China owns a lot of bonds, American bonds. Okay, we own China's bonds and they own our bonds. In other words, they can't default and we can't default. That's the reality. And the reality is that China has all their children and all their money in the United States. All that money they got from us, you think they invested in China? No. They put it into bank accounts in the USA where they sent their children to school. So all those leaders, all those corrupt party leaders, yep, all their children in the USA with fat bank accounts. Now, so in other words, we made that monster. The mafia set that up. We should have left them alone. They would have never been a threat. They would have been wallowing in Marxist backwardness continuously. They would have been like North Korea. But no, we got to send all our technology over there. I mean, it's bad enough that we sent all our technology over to Taiwan. I mean, oh my God. And now all those semiconductors think that they're hot crap. We made that stuff. We invented it. We let it out of our hands when the Japanese figured out a shorter wavelength could make better semiconductors. Wow, how did we miss that one, America? Well, anyway, so the point is that we should have never set that up. If Nixon had never gone in there, we could have left him alone. We would have never had this problem. But no. So maybe it's too late now. Maybe all you Walmart shoppers, etc., that love that Chinese stuff, the Home Depot and everything else, you're paying for it. You paid for it. You might as well put that money, move that factory to Vietnam. We already went to war with them once. They love us. We're not going to go to war with them again. They're too small, obviously. But anyway. So what happens? Blinken goes there, and he allows his ass to get chewed out, and he goes home. That was a successful mission. He went there and improved our relations with China and brought us back from World War III with China over Taiwan, etc. He brought us back a little bit. Even though it was stupid, and even though the Biden administration is stupid, it was still a productive meeting. One that the Chinese didn't even want to give him, but they finally gave it to him, and it helped things out. Well, what happened? 24 hours later, not even 24 hours later, in California, at a campaign event, probably involving the Getty family or Kamala, etc., Joe Bidenopoulos, he gets up there on stage, and what does he say? He says that he's responsible. He's the one that shot down the Chinese balloon, and he said that Xi Jinping was no more than just a dictator who didn't know anything. He didn't know where that balloon was, and that he didn't even know it had been shot down. And he got very angry when he found out that it was shot down, because that's what dictators do. Now this is Mr. Shit for Brains that supposedly is our president, that calls Xi Jinping a dictator, an angry dictator, and starts talking all big about shooting down a fucking balloon, has to whip his dick out. And what happens immediately? Whatever happened with Blinken, whatever good happened, immediately went away and went in the opposite direction. The opposite direction. Why in that fuck would that asshole do that? In other words, you crept us away from war. You moved us a little bit away from war, and then you get up on stage. You're supposed to be representing our country. You're trying to get reelected. What do? You push us back into the fucking war with your stupid fucking mouth. Why would you do that? Because you want war. Why do you want war? Because we're going to have war. We're going to have World War III, because you're going to die. You're not even going to make it through another term, and yet you want war. You got your Victoria Newlands puppets like that are controlled, of course, by the Clintons. You know, Victoria Nuland, I don't know if you know this, but here's the thing. She has a husband, and her husband runs an institute. I don't know what it's called, New American Institute on War or some shit like that. And it's one of the go-to think tanks that the United States goes to for all its data of what's going on with Russia and our threats, et cetera, et cetera. It's Gloria Nuland's fucking husband. It's a scam. You people, how does this even happen? Anyway, so the point is these people, they got to have war. Why do they got to have war? Well, because they can't give up. They've, like I said, they've shot their entire wad, and they're so insanely committed to the insane idea that somehow just a little bit more and Putin's going to crumble down and they're going to win the world and be, you know, have it all. That's insane, and it's suicidal, and they're dragging us all into it. But the other thing, of course, is that, well, Occupy the Getty. They know what's coming. They know what's coming. They know that all these people are getting angry. They know you're getting pissed off. They know that you're not going to continue with this crap. I mean, first of all, what do you got? What do you got as an alternative to this Biden asshole? You got Trump. They're still pushing that idiot Trump. They're actually telling you that Trump is the front runner and that he's the man. Forget that DeSantis guy. It's going to be Trump and Biden. Hallelujah. President Trump will be back. That guy, you know, I mean, my God, are you all insane? And this is why these hucksters and con men are flocking to take your money, because you believe this crap. And then I go on the air on one of your big platforms and say that Trump was CEO of the same corporation run by Robert Vesco, who ran the entire world mafia, who died in jail. And that kind of shows that Trump isn't a slouch. He's kind of high up there in the world mafia. You would have to be. I mean, unless you're, you know, I mean, if you think that he isn't, I'll tell you what, I got some Apoline weight loss formula for you, and some crypto, and some what is it? Some advice on how to invest your money so that you don't lose it under that horrible Biden. I mean, seriously, if you're that stupid that you can't see that, you would be willing to buy this crap, some Trump bucks that you think are going to be worth $100,000 because fake Trump told you. I mean, seriously, it's like you got to be the most gullible person in the world. Anyway, I'm not here to, you know, I mean, obviously all these Trump people, especially the ones that are pushing that shit, trying to sell crap, you know, like our Lewis guy and whatever his program was, beat big government or whatever. It's not big government. It's big mafia. It's all big mafia. Government my ass. Big mafia. Anyway, that's what we're fighting. Well, like I said, those guys, they don't know how to respond, and we're moving forward. But they need World War III. The big bosses need World War III. They need nukes. And that's why you've got guys like Biden up there projecting, talking about nukes, because that's what we do. The United States says, well, you know, Putin's going to use a tactical nuke. Putin's this, Putin that, Putin's evil. They're holding up a mirror up to their face. They think that Putin's got a mirror on his chest, you know, and they look, and anyway, either way, they're projecting on us what they're going to do. Bottom line, Putin has no intention of using nukes. He doesn't need to. He beat us militarily, and now he's beating us economically. His gross national product is actually in the positive. It may only be up 0.5%, whatever, but it was supposed to be down in the toilet because of all this sanctions and all this nonsense that 11 going on 12 sanctions or some BS that they keep trying to put in there. You know, here's the other thing. The rest of the world think it's a joke. Talk about projection. Russia had a conference. It was like an exposition in St. Petersburg. Beautiful city. Probably one that we want to nuke really bad just because it's so beautiful. Anyway, they had this conference in St. Petersburg. Now, the last time they had this conference, I think they had something like 35 attendees. These are countries, entourages of representatives from countries, defense ministers, liaisons, etc., envoys. People would go there to celebrate. It's basically like a World's Fair sort of thing, where the country shows off its goods and its technology and its culture. That's what this is. Now, the United States, of course, comes along and makes fun of it. And we say, ha, nobody wants to go to this thing. Nobody cares about Russia. Russia doesn't have any friends. Russia's isolated. What do they have to show? Nobody's interested. You'd have to be a fool to want to go to this conference in St. Petersburg. Well, here's the thing. 130 countries showed up for this conference. 130 countries, separate countries with their entire delegations and entourages went to this symposium or whatever the hell it is, exposition. And as I said, last year it was 35. Last time they did this, 35. Now it's up 130. That would suggest to me that the rest of the world is like going, ha, we need to go visit the Russians. We need to see what's up. They all want to be BRICS members. Even Bangladesh, basket case of the world, wants to be a member of BRICS. Not the Western system, but BRICS. Everybody wants to be part of BRICS. That's the Russian, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. BRICS. BRICS. Well, now it's got all kinds of other countries in there. Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, etc., Iran, etc., going on and on and on and on. It's not a little deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's getting bigger. So in other words, all these countries are saying, we're done for. They don't want our dollar. They know who's ahead. They know who's winning the war. They know who went toe-to-toe with the West, and they're standing tall, and they're actually making them profit. They don't have a bloody nose at all. They stood up to the superpower and the combined power of the collective West, and they're showing a profit. Their GNP is still showing a profit. And Russian weapons are defeating everything we throw at them. All those German tanks, the ones that the stupid Annalena Baerbock is trying to say, oh, don't call them German tanks. They're Ukrainian tanks. When you buy the iPhone, you don't say it's your iPhone, right? You don't say it's a Chinese iPhone or a store iPhone. You say it's your iPhone. Bitch. Stupid bitch. Yeah, anyway, those all those fancy Leopard tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles and Marta fighting vehicles and on, all that stuff we supplied, all those M555 howitzers, etc. They're all burned up. All of them. They're going to burn up. I mean, they haven't burned up all the tanks yet, but they're. You know what they're doing in Ukraine? The troops that drive those tanks into the offensives, they're actually disabling those troops, those tanks. They're going, oh, that damn Leopard. It's not working properly. I guess we're not going to the front today. That's what they're doing. So anyway, it's this big offensive. It's not an offensive anymore. It's been going on for, I don't know, a little less than 2 weeks, whatever it is. Now they're calling it a slow burn. They're making all kinds of excuses. Anywhere, it ain't going anywhere. It's petering out. And, they're not going to be able to negotiate their way out of this, not with idiots like Biden. And again, what are we supposed to do? Vote for Trump? Come on. They won't let Kennedy in there. Kennedy knows what's up. He knows what's up. DeSantis, he's kind of a Nazi. I mean, he's got more brains than the rest of them. Maybe not Kennedy, but still. Bottom line is they need to burn the house down to keep you and me from exposing what they're doing underground, because that's where the real power is. They sure don't want to stop fighting with Putin. I mean, who knows? We might even have a dialogue with Putin. In that case, you might get to talk to me. You think Putin doesn't know about this stuff? I'm sure he does. He must. I'm sure a lot of you tell him. I mean, my God, this is Telegram, right? That I'm on? Obviously, Putin knows what's going on Telegram. They all do. Okay. I don't want to bitch too much more about that. I'm sure I will come up with something else I want to tell you. I'm going to take a quick break, but before I do, I am going to remind you, though, that if you do want to help out economically, please use the PayPal. It's Stephen Kelley 714@yahoo.com. Also, if you haven't joined the Telegram, you got to. You got to, because that's all we got. Oh, I do have a show coming up on the, not a show, but an interview coming up on the 19th, a pretty big interview that was set up earlier. I'm sure I'll talk to it this month, July, or next month, July. I'm looking forward to. I'll tell you all about it. But otherwise, yeah, join the Telegram group, OccupyTheGetty/Stephen Kelley, and email me at law17gun@AOL.com to get a copy of the book. Okay, with that, I'll talk to you in a couple of minutes. All right, everybody. I see you can still hear me. I see that my sound levels are equal now, not like they've been. Things are seeming like they're working pretty decent. I see we got a pretty decent amount of people listening. Let's see what we got here. Liverpool, United Kingdom. We got tons of United Kingdom as usual, but Liverpool's is in the house. Let me see who else. Latonia, Kentucky is in the house, of course. Let's see who else. Tonawanda, New York. Well, I'm pretty sure that's Buffalo, right? Abbottstown, PA. How you doing? Abbottstown. That you, Diane? Probably, huh? Brooklyn, New York. Who's this? Catterick, Tonawanda. We got you already. Netherlands. Hey, how you doing, dude? All right, everybody. Remember, obviously, there's a lot more people that I don't see, but they let me see you. They let me see you. Isn't that something? You know what that means? That means they got your number. They know you're listening. They got your number. They allow me to see you listening because they know that I know you're in the club, but they don't want anyone else outside the club to hear me or they don't want to allow me to see that someone else is listening. So, obviously, the idea is to discourage me, but tough. I'm not doing this to please myself. Anyway, this should be a big clue, and I think it is becoming a big clue. And I'll tell you one thing. These guys that are controlling all this stuff, they just don't get psychology. Like I said, they try to project. They do everything. They say everyone else is going to do what they're doing. And yet, at the same time, they don't understand reverse psychology. They're constantly doing things that end up in the Streisand effect of doing, helping things go in the wrong direction. That seems to be a pretty common trait, especially when it comes to dealing with myself and this mission. Doesn't really matter what they do. They're trying really hard not to say my name, but it's getting harder, and they just don't know what to do. Now, a good example of this, of course, is I went on the show, a really nice show, What the Frick Live. It's actually a really cool show. It's out of, it broadcasts out of New Orleans. The hostess, one of the hostesses is in Kentucky, Emily. But anyway, Emily says, well, first of all, her co-host didn't show up for either of the two shows, which really makes me wonder if it's just a coincidence, if the universe didn't want him there, or he didn't want to be there, or what. But she told me that when she's had me on the air, this is twice now I've been on the air, she says that she's heavily shadow banned, which basically means that when she checks her records and her demographics and her viewership and all that, she knows that they're being reported as not too good, like I get. So in other words, there's a lot of effort being made to prevent her listeners from accessing the program live on the airwaves. And at the same time, they're working very hard to make it look to her like not too many people are interested, which is what they do. So now, of course, this is screwing with her head, screwing with my head, screwing with all of our heads. This is what psychology is. And the effect, if it's unintended, is what we call reverse psychology, if that was the actual intention. But in this case, it's not, because Emily's not stupid. She looks at that and she says, gee, all of a sudden, one of my guests is getting me shadow banned. Somebody I've never heard of, somebody no one else has ever heard of, but out of everyone that I talked to, including NSA General Michael Flynn, Mr. QAnon himself, there's no shadow ban. But this Stephen Kelley guy gets shadow banned. And he says all this stuff that no one else says. It's like almost like what he's saying is a real threat to the enemy because it's all true. Gosh, what to do, what to think, right? Well, they keep doing it. They keep doing it. So, here's the thing. All of you people out there listening, I mean, I know they try to keep you from listening, but these truthers, they're having a hard time not having me confront them and having to, present my case and give me the opportunity to, decide whether or not they're true or not. They can't escape that. It's changing the rules. So what ends up happening is the more they do this, the more they try to hide me, the more they make it look like I have never been around, that I'm a nobody, that I have no followers, etc. The more people are wondering, how can that be so? Especially when all these so-called truthers have been spouting crap like, children have been rescued, white hats, bunkers, yada, yada, yada. And then suddenly they find out about this Stephen Kelley guy, and suddenly they start watching some of my videos and they go, wait a minute, this guy's been talking about this since 10 years ago, 12 years ago? Where were all these truthers then? Where was this Lewis guy? Where were any of these guys, these Wano Savins of the world? Where the hell were they 10, 12 years ago? Did they just find out? Who'd they find out from? Because the only one talking about it was this Stephen Kelley guy, which kind of makes me the authority, which kind of makes me sound sort of legitimate. And I'll tell you, judging by some of these emails that I get from people, they say, isn't that curious how we've been hearing all this crap for so long, but not one mention of Stephen Kelley or Occupy the Getty or something of this nature, when it's clear after having found my content that I've been doing this from day one before any of these jokers, and I've been consistent in my message and saying the same thing, unlike all these other jokers who seem to think that it's okay to tell you some bullshit 50% of the time, because as long as they tell you something that sounds true, something they heard from me, the other 50% of the time, that's okay. That's what Satan does. Those are called half-lies. Well, that's what they do. Well, like I said, my message hasn't changed. There's nothing I have to go back on and apologize for and say I was wrong. I mean, if I was, I would have said so. I do say so. I always am very quick to admit if I'm wrong about something, but they can't do that. But for whatever reason, so many of you have forgotten things like, Wano Savin was calling himself JFK Jr. or, shit like that, or all these other people were pushing this crap. Those are lies. Those are fantasies, fictions. And yet you're supposed to believe that the other stuff they tell you and forget about the fantasies and the fictions. Well, all they do is make me look good. Hiding is not going to work anymore, because now the bar has been raised. Things are different. You have to say my name now, or people are going to know you're full of it. You can't talk about children, child hostages, child sacrifice, all that. You can't talk about it now without mentioning the Getty or Occupy the Getty or my name, or you'll be called out. You know that. You know that's coming. That's why you're so quiet right now. You don't know what to do. So yeah, we've changed those rules. The other thing is that, like I said earlier, we're not going to be polite with you anymore. We're not going to play nice. We're not going to gently call you out. It's like poor Carrie. Plenty of people have come to me. Now, Carrie's a person I care about, that I actually have some pity for. So when I call her a liar to her face and say that she's paid to make us all look stupid, It's coming from somebody that you all know her closely. She can't deny that. So I know the truth about her, and I'm the only one that could say these things and the only one willing to say these things. Why? Because I don't care about the money. I don't care about being on stage with her or any of these losers trying to make a buck, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to save children, like you should be, like all these truthers should be. And it's not just saving the children, it's saving the world. Because if we don't do this, if we don't pull this off, we're all screwed. Because these idiots in the Biden administration or whatever administration takes over, Trump, whatever, you know damn well, they're not going to fix anything. They're not going to repair anything. They're not going to change anything. They're not going to give back any of the money they've stolen or the children that have been kidnapped. And they're certainly never going to admit to the crimes that they've done. So nothing's going to change. Nothing changes until we go underground. And that is the message. That's what Occupy the Getty is. Anyway. All right, again, the email to reach me is law17gun@aol.com. That's how you get the book. That's how you get healing. That's how you ask questions. That's how you learn to be a Jedi. That's how you book me for interviews, anything of that nature. If you want to donate, you use the PayPal strictly, and it's got to be for friend or family. And the PayPal is Stephen Kelley 714@yahoo.com. Okay? And if I got that wrong somewhere else, I apologize, and I know there's tons and tons of videos out there that have the wrong PayPal, but whatever. The money goes to my kid, hopefully, and I'm not going to complain. Once again, I thank you guys all for joining me, and I want to, again, invite you to join the group on Telegram, Occupy the Getty / Stephen D. Kelley, and you do have to join Telegram. It's worth it. All right? And do it, load it on your computer. Sometimes it's a pain on the phone if you don't fix it so it doesn't take up your entire cache. Anyway, with that, again, my name is Stephen D. Kelley. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. We are Occupy the Getty. We are Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. It's still June 22nd, 2023. It's now 6:54 p.m. I hope I see you guys all next week. I hope I see you in my group. I hope I get emails from you, and I hope you got fired up and inspired. You do something, because I'm tired of this shit and I want it over. I'm getting too old for this crap. I want it over now. All right? I hope we're moving in the right direction, and I hope you can continue to help me do that. So with that, I'll say good night. God bless. Adios. And goodbye.